Asiasi, was he? It looks like he was on the rehab field. Is he okay?
Yeah, just kind of a lingering deal, and hope to get him up to speed very quickly. But it's good for him, get a chance to learn the system, first of all. That's the biggest thing before he can get on the field. So it's a positive thing.
Any injury concerns for him
No.
going into week one?
No.
How much time did you and your staff spend this off-season purposefully game planning, knowing defenses now are really going to try and take away Jamar Chase first and foremost? Was that a big chunk of what you guys did this offseason as part of the normal game plan?
Yeah, I think the simplest way to put it for us is we feel like we have a lot of weapons, and we always want to involve Jamar as much as possible. But what I thought happened last year was Joe just goes to the open receiver, wherever it is in the concept. He doesn't force balls. Certainly when you've got great receivers like we do, some one-on-one opportunities are always really good for us. But forcing the ball hasn't been an issue. And so obviously we evolve each year and we tweak things and try to make our offense as good as it can and put our guys in the best position to take care of that. But we feel like we have a lot of really good weapons. If they try to hone in on somebody and take them away, then we can still be efficient on offense.
One thing Brian said to us last week, Zach, was the run game can be explosive. It was not last year. Is that one area where you guys think you have more explosive capability?
I do. I think that's an area we'll continue to improve, and I'm excited about that. Some of the changes that we made up front, I think will be encouraging for us and positive, and we'd love to have more explosive runs. We had some really efficient runs last year that were good, and but I think we can hit some of those home runs, that maybe we've haven't hit as much.
Does it matter on which down you call a particular running play that has the potential to be explosive? Can it happen at any time?
It can happen versus any front, any cover, just the way you catch it sometimes. It can be all downs, really.
How important is it for a quarterback to be patient when you see a lot of cover two? Is that maybe probably the biggest trait that you need to be successful against that kind of coverage?
To say that again?
Is patience probably the most important trait for a quarterback when it comes to being successful against cover two?
Yeah, I think our quarterbacks see the coverages really well. There's concepts that can be explosive versus that coverage. So being patient is probably not the word I'm using. You just know where the voids are and you want to attack them, and you want to attack them on time versus all the different types of zones you can play. If you're not on time, then typically you got to start to be on the move or check the ball down. But I think Joe particularly does a really good job of playing on time versus the coverage look that he thinks he's going to see, that he verifies post-snap. And, he gets the ball out as quick as anybody I've been around. He's very decisive. He does a really good job of just getting to his check down when he feels like that's an advantageous opportunity, and he can see those matchups really well. And I think that's one of the impressive things about him.
How did Jesse look in his first couple of days being able to practice fully, and is he all ready to go this week?
Yeah, I forget that he missed time, to be honest with you. And I think he did a really good job taking care of himself. We wanted to be cautious as we integrated him back into what we were doing. But he's got a great understanding of what we're doing. He's up to speed on any tweaks that we made, and we expect him to be out there every down.
I'm sure Dax's role has changed a little bit with Jesse back. How has he taken to that and learning all the different spots?
Yeah, he's been a pro about it. He's known this could be the situation since day one. I think he did a great job taking advantage of the weeks that he got as the starting safety, and now he bumps over into a different role. And I won't get into the specifics on what all that looks like, but we feel comfortable that he can be a great player for us.
Do you think that gives your defense a pretty big boost to have that chess piece? I'm not asking how you're using it,
right,
but to have that in your upper sleeve.
I think that we have a lot of depth on defense to where we have not only Dax, but several guys that can come in and give some variations to different looks that we have. And that's a positive, that we have a lot of really good players that we trust. Dax is probably one of the few that hasn't been in the system for over a year. Several other guys have. And that's a good thing to have depth going into the season.
With George Pickens, Pittsburgh has a rookie receiver, kind of a similar position to what you were in 2020 and 2021. What did you learn from Jamar and T getting a rookie ready to play week one and overcoming that challenge?
That they can be big-time playmakers week one, and so you got to be ready for him. And I can't speak to how he's come along. He was a tremendous player in college that we thought highly of. And, I know that he had a real good preseason, and so we got to be ready for him.
Teams don't tackle a lot in training camp anymore, and your starters didn't play in the preseason games. Do you worry at all about tackling early in the season?
We work it every way we can without actually taking people to the ground necessarily. I think our guys are professional. They've really attacked those drills the right way. They do their circuit. Nothing can simulate real life hitting the guys that they have. But, these guys have played a lot of football. They know how to prepare themselves in training camp and be ready for week one, and I'm confident they'll be able to do that.
You remember last year's opener? Was it not glaring, but something noticeable that maybe the tackling wasn't where it should be?
I thought our defense started really strong last year. If we hadn't gone for it on 4th and 1 on our own 30, we might have, had a bigger win than we did. But that's just the way it went.
But you probably don't do that if you don't think your defense is very good, though, correct?
Sure. There's a lot of confidence in our team. Last year, there's a lot of confidence in our team this year. And, I think our guys will hit the ground running week one.
Zach, this is a team who made the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, I can tell you that. But you guys have added so
Last
much.
year?
Really have. You've added so much. It's a different group. Do you think this team has the potential to be better than what you were last year?
That's not something we're really getting into. We know the work that we needed to put in training camp to prepare ourselves for the first week. And really, I'm not sitting here looking beyond that because we know how big Pittsburgh is week one at home and how big a divisional game is, period. It's important to open up with great energy in front of your fans and start the season 1-0. And so that's all that we need to be focused on right now is being the best team we can be to beat Pittsburgh in week one. And then we'll take care of the weeks after that. But I don't want to focus on this team compared to last year. I know that these guys have put in a lot of work. They're confident. We're confident in them. And we want them to go able to play fast and freely in week one and just let them go play ball.
There was a time when Steelers week felt really different around here because it almost felt like validation for the Bengals if they were to beat the Steelers. You guys have won 3 in a row against them. Does it have the same feeling now? Does it feel different now that you guys are defending the AFC North champs?
I think every game in this division has that feeling to it. There's not added importance because they're all important, but there is. Your easiest path to playoffs is to be dominant in your division. And so it starts week one against a divisional team at home. You got to take advantage of those opportunities. You feel it from our fans, certainly. There's a relationship there that I want to get into that you feel when you're walking through the community 365 days of the year. But for our guys, they're just focused on whoever walks out of that tunnel ready to go, and I'm excited to watch them play.
How does the atmosphere feel different inside the team this year going into week one as opposed to previous years?
I thought last year you really felt good about it, and so there was no surprise that we did the things we did. This year, I felt like we had a really good training camp. We're healthy. Our guys are focused. They don't take anything for granted. They've put in the work. They're ready to go, and I'm excited to put in these next 3 days of work and then go get after it.
How is week one different than the rest of the year? Getting ready for it.
Yeah, there is an element of unknowns. Obviously, they have new players, new coaches, that they make tweaks to their scheme. That you take that for granted early on, that's going to happen, and that there's some things that you're going to have to be ready for to adjust that maybe you haven't seen on tape. And same with us, so it goes both ways. And what's important is you take good care of the football. You take the football off of them. You're disciplining when it comes to the penalties so that you position yourself to be ready to make those adjustments when you need to.
Does it help that it's a division rival, though, a team that you're pretty familiar with and a head coach that you're kind of familiar with?
There's a lot of familiarity back and forth from them to us and us to them. Obviously, it doesn't change the unknown elements of what might they do differently, how might they use their personnel a little bit differently. Those are always going to be unknowns, but obviously we have a better feel for their personnel and they have a better feel for our personnel because for the most part it's largely unchanged on both teams. And their staff has been there for a long time. Guys on our staff have been here for a long time, and so there's a lot of known elements there.
What's the most probably interesting thing you probably learned this offseason, Jeremiah, like the game in terms of maybe the way you approach things, the way you do things, or anything interesting that kind of came up while you were kind of reviewing and prepping for this year?
It's more just making tweaks to our training camp, from the previous year. I felt like we had a good plan in place to get our guys ready for week one, so we didn't want to vary too much from that. It was the same, schedule from the league in terms of how many practice dates we got and when we started. So we tried to be as similar as we could to a year ago because we knew that put our players in a good shape in terms of physically, mentally. Felt like they were in game condition. And so we followed a similar schedule this year.
Aside from points scored, is there a metric that maybe we should look at as one that you feel like will be the sign of a really good and successful and healthy offense?
Protecting the ball.
Can you describe the importance of stopping the run on the success the defense had, especially in the playoffs last season?
Anytime I think you can make a team one-dimensional or feel like they're one-dimensional, that's good. Your guys have that confidence that we present a lot of different fronts and personnels that can be difficult, I think, looks for teams. And we've got really good rundown defenders, really good, and they take a lot of pride in that too. That I think is the biggest thing, is just how much these guys aren't about sacks and the numbers. These guys are about playing physical on first and second down, and then having fun on the get back on tracks and third downs when they put themselves in that position to be ahead of the chains there. And so it's exciting to see guys that take pride in being really good run stoppers.
4 new offensive linemen, do you think these guys have had enough time together to gel before they face what is a really good defensive line on Sunday?
I like the progress that they've made together. Some of those are unknowns until you get into the season, but I like the leadership that these guys have shown, these veterans that have come into the room, helped Cordell, and I feel really good about where they're at. And then we'll just see, once we roll the ball out there and they get to block these guys, we'll see how it goes. But I've got a lot of confidence in them that they've done everything they can to prepare. They've listened to Frank and feel like they're in a really good position to be successful.
You have a lot of players that were part of the sacrifices and the hard work to get to the Super Bowl last year. Are they, from what you see, and I know it's early on, short sample size, small sample size, but are they kind of saying, here's what it was about, here's what it took, to the guys that weren't part of it last year?
Not so much. I think they just naturally bring guys along on what we got to do to get ready for Pittsburgh on Sunday. And it's not so much about looking down the road. We have really good leadership, and they have brought new guys along that they needed to. There's a lot of veterans that have come from the outside that are championship caliber guys that have played for championships, that know what it looks like, and they've been really good to involve into what we do. But I feel like just the leadership takes over. Some things are probably even unsaid. It's just the way that they carry themselves, conduct themselves, prepare, and that has caught on with a lot of the younger players.
How much do you lean on, as a coach, Joe's instinct in a game where, like you said before, there's so many unknown variables, that he'll make the right decision, and that 3/5 of your offensive line is new, so you got to just trust that they know what they're doing instinctively? How much is there of that?
Yeah, it helps you sleep better at night when you have Joe Burrow playing quarterback for you. I can promise you that. And so, again, because there's always unknowns, there's always the excitement that comes with a game, and did we do everything we could to help our players? But when you got really good players also, that makes it a little bit easier to sleep. But at the same time, they're still, you want to make sure you're utilizing them the right way. You're putting them in the best position to hit their full potential. And so those are still the things that we think a lot about, spend a lot of time making sure that we're doing our best to put some really good players in position to be the most successful they can.
How good is Burrow on pre-snap identification?
He's really, really, really good. I don't care what area you're going to throw out there for me. He's really good pre-snap. He's really good post-snap. He plays fast. He's really strong in the pocket, keeps 2 hands on the ball. He's a really good leader, does a good job in the huddle, playing with urgency, getting to the line of scrimmage. He can spit out the play calls. Sometimes they're very wordy. And, he does a good job finding the end zone for our guys, whether it's a good play call or a bad play call. He finds a way to make it work, and that's a huge piece to have on your team.
Why is he so good at pre-snap ID?
You would have to ask him that. That's probably something he's done since he played in the high school state championship and in the college national championship game and in the Super Bowl. It's something that makes him tick a certain way. None of us in this room were able to do it the way that he does it, so I can't fully explain why he does things the way he does them. But he's put on a lot of work behind the scenes over a long period of time to put himself in a position to be more successful than pretty much everybody else on this planet.
First time in nearly 20 years that Ben Roethlisberger is not the Steelers quarterback going into the season. How much different do you expect their offense to look?
That we'll have to find out. When it comes down to it, he did a great job for a long time. It is strange for you to say that because I remember being in college when he was in college, and he was a little older than me, not by much. But he was certainly a big part of what they did for a long time. But again, they've had a guy in the system that's in the quarterback room that's been there for a long time. They added a guy who's been to a Pro Bowl, who's been successful. They added a first-round pick that they've seen play up close in person for a long time. So you got to feel confident that they've done everything they can to put themselves in a good position there. I don't know what the offense is going to fully look like with those guys. I'm sure there's some things they've withheld that we'll find out about on Sunday. But again, we've got really smart players that do a good job communicating on defense, and we'll have to be ready to make adjustments quickly.
Just a couple more minutes, please. I'm sure you had a vision of what Hayden would be when you signed him, when you brought him here. Now that this game week, is there a vision in your head of this guy could be a playmaker for you even as soon as week 1?
I do. He's got a great deal of athleticism that I think we can utilize. But at the same time, just as they were asking about Jamar earlier, teams trying to take him away, it's Joe does a really good job just going through his progressions and finding the right matchups and getting the guys the ball. So we don't need to force Jamar the ball, Hayden the ball, T the ball, TB, Mixon, all those guys. We're just confident that within our progressions, the ball will find them, and they got to make the play when they get it.
Coach, when you think about Micah Fitzpatrick and Joe, just how much do you appreciate the mutual respect and talent they have for each other?
Minka's a great player. He's come in and done a great job taking the ball away immediately when he got to Pittsburgh. That's been his MO. You can tell that he's got tremendous leadership qualities. They're able to do a lot of different things with him. Will that change this year? Who knows? We'll find out. But he's certainly a big piece of their defense, and a guy that's been there now for a number of years. They got a couple other guys that have been there a number of years. So really their key components of their defense have been there. They know what their culture is about on defense, and they've played at a high level and been a part of a lot of successful teams. And I'm sure that filters around to the rest of those guys that are a little bit newer.
Can you tell us the results of the captain voting?
I can, yeah. So can I? Am I good to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. On offense, well, I didn't know if we were releasing it or anything, but I didn't want to.
You're being social, but that's okay.
Yeah. On offense, there's 3 on offense, 3 on defense, 1 on special teams. So on special teams, it's Michael Thomas, the safety. On defense, it's Sam Hubbard, DJ Reader, and Von Bell. And on offense, it's Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, and Ted Karras.
Are those voted on by players and
They are.
coaches?
Nope, players.
It happened a couple years ago with Bell and Burrow. Roster wasn't quite the same. What does it say about a Super Bowl roster and a guy like Karras, first year here as a captain?
Yeah, he's made a really strong impression on his teammates. He comes in and does all the extras, leads by example, leads vocally. Guys trust that he knows what to do to the utmost. I have a lot of confidence with him in here, just talking to him, seeing him every day and how he goes about his business. His dad's a tremendous coach. Maybe someday he'll be a tremendous coach. And so it's not surprising to see him voted by that, just based on what I've seen over the last 5 months or so.
How much of those qualities did you know in advance before you signed him, and how much of that do you just have to wait and see once he gets in the building, which obviously he's shown?
Yeah, a little bit about it, before they get in. We try to do our research as best we can. Certainly, he's surpassed expectations just intangibly since he's been in here. It's really hard unless you're around him for a long period of time straight to really get the full Ted experience. He's just, he's a phenomenal human being. He works his tail off, and it's really important to him. I think he really brings a lot to the table locally. I think he's been to every restaurant in town. Already made friends with about everybody he could possibly make friends with. So he's had a great impact on our community and our team in a short time.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Thank
Zach.
you.